Morning, Neuro Ninjas. Hope you're well. Let's dive into today's well-being workout. 5 to 15 minutes to excite, engage you about how to build great well-being in your amazing brain and body every single day. Don't wait for the weekends. Don't wait for the holidays. Don't wait for retirement. This is about supporting you to be the best version of yourself every single day. You've got at the top of your neck everything you need, that incredible, amazing brain. You are the asset in your life. Your body, brain, and mind are your most precious possessions. Your health is your greatest wealth. And we know that, don't we? Because when we don't feel great, we just want to feel better again. So every time we get together, I'll always introduce with a little bit of well-being and Neuro Ninja wisdom. Here we've got the stress bucket, which you will have seen. That idea, that complexity and difficulty in the world will pile into us and develop this overwhelming sense that we're being kind of drowned with incoming stuff. As it fills up, the little tap in the bucket, though, on our version, is the 12 rocks of well-being. Every single day, the 12 rocks of well-being are your pushback. What is going in that bucket is something called allostatic load. More on that in later well-being workouts, but allostatic load is what's coming at us every single day and our ability to cope with it. And to increase our ability to cope with high levels of allostatic load and challenge, we need to increase, not decrease, our well-being. And that's what the 12 rocks of well-being do. So our mission is to support you to apply the power of intuitive understanding. And if we do that, it will protect all of us from harm until the end of our days. So today's question is, why can't I sleep? And there are various answers to this. Answer one is stress activates the sympathetic nervous system. For example, using our phone in bed activates the sympathetic nervous system. So let me introduce you to two halves of your nervous system. Both of these come on automatically. They've got specific jobs. The react nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, gets us ready for action. The parasympathetic nervous system, the response nervous system, helps us recoup and recharge, helps us digest our food, for example. A full-on version of parasympathetic activation would be sleep. So the react nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, gets a bad name. People talk about it as the stress nervous system. They talk about fight, flight, freeze. Now, the ultimate version of that, when it's activated, is the fight, flight, freeze response. But actually, we're going to need the sympathetic nervous system every single day because it helps us take action in the world. When it activates, we experience symptoms of activation. What do I mean? Basically, what happens is the hypothalamus at the bottom of the brain releases a bunch of chemicals, cortisol and other related chemicals, generate adrenaline via the adrenal glands on top of the kidneys. That gets us activated. That's what the sympathetic nervous system does. When it activates strongly, we have symptoms. We might hear and feel our heart pumping faster. We might experience stomach cramps or butterflies. We might have a dry mouth. We might have a whirling mind. These are the symptoms of sympathetic nervous system activation. Any of these symptoms are going to keep us awake. Going on our phone, answering our email, going on social media, engaging with the world activates our sympathetic nervous system. So we need to make sure at night that we're doing everything we can to engage our parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system calms us down. It's that feeling that comes over you after a big meal. It makes you feel drowsy. So we need in the evenings to build in activities that, first of all, burn up the stress from the day. We'll talk about that in a while. And then second of all, activate the parasympathetic nervous system. We're going to talk about a wind down hour in a minute. That wind down hour, or that wind down couple of hours, is focused on activating the parasympathetic nervous system. Both these systems come on automatically, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system, but there are things that we can do to activate them as well. So that question again, why can't I sleep? Answer two, I don't allow a dedicated 8 hours in bed. So we need to provide our body with at least 8 hours in bed in tandem with our sleep cycle. Everyone's got a slightly different sleep cycle. If we don't allow our body and brain a dedicated 8 hours in bed, we are not going to provide our body and brain with what it needs in terms of sleep. So we need to carve out that time every single day, and we need to make sure that time is aligned with our sleep cycle. So that sleep cycle moves around depending on the kind of physiology that we've got. So that question again, why can't I sleep? We don't practice sleep hygiene or have a wind down hour. So let's just think about some of those things all together. Parasympathetic nervous system activation, sleep hygiene, and that day-night rhythm. So all of us are somewhere on a spectrum between a lark and an owl. This is morningness or eveningness. Basically, we are either active and full of beans in the morning, larks, or active and full of beans in the evening, owls, or somewhere in between. But if we're thinking about falling asleep, sleep and falling asleep is a natural process. We can interrupt it by getting ourselves excited and activating our sympathetic nervous system, or worrying and activating our sympathetic nervous system. But if we let it happen naturally, it will just happen. It's automatic. Your brain automatically controls your body temperature. Your brain automatically controls your blood sugar levels. Your brain will automatically enable you to go to sleep unless you get in the way of it. So the first thing we need to establish is, are we a lark or are we an owl, or are we somewhere in between? Larks will fall asleep in the evening between 9 and 10 p.m. Owls between maybe 11 and midnight, and then the people that are in between, maybe between 10 and 11. There'll be a natural point when you are falling asleep, maybe on the couch watching the series on Netflix. You need to be in bed ahead of that time. If you get in bed 15 to 20 minutes before that natural drop-off point in terms of falling asleep, you will sleep really quite quickly. Ahead of that time, build in a routine, build in a wind down hour, that the mission of which is to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. So there are lots of things that you can do to activate your parasympathetic nervous system and build in that wind down hour. So let's think of an evening experience, beginning when you come home from work or school, by burning up additional stress. The best way of doing that is exercise. A walk, but exercise. Just a 10-minute high intensity interval training exercise. Anything that burns up a bit of energy, because the sympathetic nervous system activation we've experienced during a stressful day hangs around in the system. If we burn up that additional energy, that blood sugar, that means we naturally, as a result of exercise, the parasympathetic nervous system comes on afterwards. So that sets us up nicely. Any reading we do, that's helpful for parasympathetic nervous system activation. Doing something we love, connecting with our family and friends, processing our emotional experiences, listening to calming music, meditation, all of these things activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Take some time to think about a routine in the evenings. It doesn't have to be very long, could be about an hour, that takes you towards bed. So reducing light levels in the house helps increase the production of melatonin, one of the signals that the brain uses to initiate sleep. To help you sleep, build in a wind down hour to take you from sympathetic to parasympathetic nervous system activation. Try and stop eating 2 or 3 hours before bed, because digestion will interrupt the process of falling asleep. Remove tech from the bedroom. I know that's going to be tricky. People tell me they need their alarm on their phone. There are old-fashioned alarm clocks. Get one of those, because the temptation of the phone is so great, because there's so many interesting things on there that's going to wake us up. So an old-fashioned book in low light, have a bit of a read of an old-fashioned book, read before bed, mindfulness before bed, maybe via Alexa, let a bit of a mindfulness tape play via Alexa, a bit of white noise perhaps if you need it, maybe the fan going, maybe not, depends on the person whether white noise works or not. And don't track your sleep on apps. They're pretty inaccurate and generally leads to stress. Just have a sense in your head in the morning. How well rested do you feel? If you feel well rested, you've had a good night's sleep. If you feel a bit cranky, you probably haven't. Why can't I sleep? We drink alcohol and caffeine in the evening. Alcohol disrupts dreaming sleep. It makes us feel drowsy, but that isn't sleep. Alcohol disrupts dreaming sleep. Caffeine is the same shape as a chemical, adenosine, which causes sleep pressure. That's one of the triggers for sleep. The build-up of adenosine in synapses is the homeostatic trigger for sleep. So if you've got caffeine hanging around in your synapses, adenosine can't act, so you don't feel tired. If you're listening to this thinking, I need some help with my sleep, Andrew, please could you help me? Absolutely we can. We've got coaches available for anyone that's working with us, schools and businesses, individuals. A net is a group of behaviours that will change your life. A thread is an individual behaviour, and a daily life experiment is what you do when you apply those processes. So to improve sleep, thread 1 is sleep hygiene, a dark, cool bedroom with no tech and no distractions. Thread 2 is monitoring the sleep process, making sure you're going to bed at the same time, getting up at the same time, measuring the quality of your sleep. Building in a wind down hour, have some fun building in a wind down hour to manage your parasympathetic nervous system. Regularizing your sleep, go to bed and get up at the same time. That's probably one of the most powerful ways of building great sleep. Make it a very clear and routined habit. Make it a ritual. It's so important. If you get a good night's sleep, everything else is so much better the next day. Cut alcohol, smoking and caffeine. All of those chemicals disrupt sleep in different ways. Build in exercise and movement during the day to mop up some of those chemicals of sympathetic nervous system activation. Process emotion in a journal. Do gladden at the end of the day, something you're grateful for, something you learned, something you achieved, something that delighted you, a positive emotion you've had and a new experience. And stop eating 3 hours or so before bed. We are here to support you. That is today's wellbeing workout wrapped. We'll see you next